I am on a personal mission to have everybody understand that getting wealthy is possible. It takes sacrifice, discipline, focus, all of those things, and a decade. Unfortunately, the first 5 years of that decade suck. You don't have a lot of momentum. You make mistakes. It doesn't feel like it is working. So one of the things I wanted to do is just have a conversation with Casey from Brick by Brick Wealth about how she and I both stayed motivated during those first 5 years of suck. So Casey, those first 5 years, I remember if you think about them, they suck for everybody. And let's talk about how you stayed motivated.
Oh my gosh, Michael. So first of all, I am almost on 2026 will be my 10th year as a rental property owner. My 10th year. Can you believe it? We bought our first house in 2016. The fact that it's gone by so fast, these 10 years, is like insane. The fact that it's like a decade. Yeah. But when you mention this, the first 5 years, I'm like, my smile gets so big because that was like, oh, I could cry, like the most stressful time of my life.
Yeah. No, I mean, people need to hear this, Casey. People need to hear this. They look at us now. You're on the channel weekly. You built a practice. You're 10 years in, which means you're financially free. You're homeschooling your kids, right? You're reaping all the rewards. But people need to hear that your first 5 years sucked and it was stressful. So keep going.
I mean, so quick do we all forget, right? I mean, do you forget? Do you know what you had for lunch yesterday, what you wore? I mean, The human mind, we forget so easily. And just bringing up, I have the chills. I get the chills all the time about these like exciting things. But my first 5 years, well, first of all, Michael, we moved so it's 10 years. So we first moved to Tennessee in 2013. We had a 3-week-old and a 2-year-old and a cat. Knew nobody. Moved here from California. Bought our first home. This one we're still in, right? Got to keep the dream alive with, the low cost of living and all of that. And we knew nobody. I was a depressed mom. I wanted to buy real estate. We had no money to do that because we had just bought this fixer and I wasn't working. So, my story. Started an Etsy shop. Struggled for a year and a half, literally bleeding because I would cut myself on accident with like X-Acto knives and stuff, making things so I could sell $5 and $25 items to save up for our first rental property. A year and a half, I had 2 tiny babies at home. Blake would go to work and nap times on the weekends, late at night. I'd be up. This was my craft room, working hard just to make $5, $25. A year and a half later, we saved up $20,000. We used that to put down on our first property. We used a couple thousand from our savings to paint and do whatever. But that's just one house. Okay. That was 1 year. Okay. What about the next year? So every single year was a constant sacrifice in so many ways. Yeah. We didn't buy brand new cars. We didn't go to Disney World. I mean, we're in Tennessee. People go to Disney World. They don't go to Disneyland. Disney World is a $10,000 week-long vacation. It's not like Disneyland we can go for a day. I mean, it's expensive too, but it's a commitment. It is not Disney World experience is not a Disneyland experience. They're different. And my friends were going fall break, Christmas break. They spend thousands of dollars going to the Florida beaches for the week. And we're like, no, we didn't. Everything we did at home too was DIY. We renovated all of our properties. We would buy, and we still do just one property a year in quality locations, right? That's the best way because you will get appreciation, rents go up, you make cash flow, good cash with all these houses. But it was really the biggest sacrifice, to be honest, was Blake. I mean, he worked full time, and after work, sometimes he would go to work in his Nissan Altima with his trunk full of tools. Didn't have a trunk full of tools. After work, he would go straight to the rental houses and he would work till midnight or 2 a.m.
Wow.
And a lot of times my mother-in-law, she finally moved here after we've been here for 2 years. She moved down the street. She would come and watch the kids at night so I could drive over separate and meet him there and help him. And I would work there at night with him until midnight, 2 a.m. We'd come home. Wow. Every single weekend was spent at a rental property doing renovations. And sometimes it would take 3 or 4 or 5 months to fix a house, but it wasn't a lot of money to keep the properties, like hold them. They were $100,000 houses. It was not a lot. And the utilities are not a lot out here. It's not California utilities, but for 5-6 years, I would say for 6 years, it was like that. It was renovations on nights and weekends, no big vacations, no buying brand new cars. I mean, our house, we're like the shoe cobbler, the guy who fixes shoes, but his shoes are bad. That's
Yeah,
our
yeah.
house. Like we finally we don't do our own house, you know? Like our when we bought this house, our kitchen was a gutter. Like it should have been
Mm,
a gut job. It was 50-year-old cabinets painted white 300 times,
mm.
globs, paint globs and everything painted over the hinges. You know, we had blue Formica countertops. There was wallpaper in the kitchen,
Oh,
like as a
yeah.
backsplash, blue and cream. And we kept it like that for 6 years because every year I said, okay, we can either spend 30 grand on a new kitchen or we can spend 30 grand on a down payment for a new house. And every year my answer was, well, my kitchen won't make me money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a house instead. And it's like, it was those years. And I know you mentioned, like, I'm talking a long time, but you mentioned like the 4
No.
properties, right? Get your first 4. Well, after 4 properties, when we were on property 5, that's when we really started
Mm,
feeling that ghost income, the second income. We started feeling it because
yeah.
you get the benefits of rental 1, 2, 3, 4, the rental 1 and 2 really going up, not just in value. You don't really feel the appreciation, but you feel the rental increase year over
Yeah,
year, you know, every
for
so
sure.
many years. And that's I'd be like, well, that's an extra few grand a month in our pocket. That's like another person's salary, you know? So
Yeah.
we started really feeling the benefits and we're like, okay, this has been worth it, you know? And meanwhile, like our friends and neighbors are still taking big vacations, but they don't have a savings account. They don't have
Mm,
retirement accounts. Like they live paycheck to paycheck. And
yeah.
what's the stat? 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck or and have less than 5,000 in their bank account. Like that's a lot of people that I know. And we're because of that sacrifice, just buying one a year, we've been in a completely different place. We are in a
Yeah.
completely different place now than before. So yes, the struggle's real.
Yeah, I mean, the wealth formula is really simple, right? Go create disposable or discretionary income, cut expenses, or in your case, raise income, right? The Etsy store. Then become elite, right? You figured out what your market was, and then do it for a decade. It's just that simple. Yes, it's hard, it's scary, it's stressful. You'll cut yourself, you'll bleed, emotionally or actually in real life. And I want to go back to the question at hand. How did you and Blake stay motivated, specifically those first 5 years? Because there were lots of stressful nights, lots of lost sleep, probably lots of stressful fights just because you were all tired. But how did you stay motivated and together?
Because that was the goal. Like we knew page a lot of things. I know a lot of couples, like someone's here and someone's here. 90% of the time, we're on, I would say almost say 100% of the time, we are on the, I mean, we're really lucky in the fact that we're on the same page with our goals, how we manage our money. Like, not, we don't have like one overspender and one saver. Like, we're both the same with a lot of our thoughts and beliefs with money management and all those things. And so it was like, hey, we know this is going to work. And then I had my background in real estate. I saw firsthand as a realtor in California, rich people in real estate. And I'm like, how do they do that? And in California, they were flipping houses. Like nobody was
Right.
buying rentals. They were flipping. And I was an agent through the market, through the 08, 09, market crash. And I watched 2 things. I watched people make a lot of money and I watched people lose a lot of properties. And I think
Yeah.
them losing a property and them losing their 401k when that, stock market crash and all that, and I mean, I'm 43 now, that is a big reason why I don't chase those Instagram
Yeah.
shiny object syndrome, high risk real estate strategies.
Yeah,
And
this is a get rich for sure, not a get rich quick. That's
yeah,
one of the things that people have to realize is I believe everyone, and again, everyone's a big word. So let's say 90% of folks can get wealthy, but it takes skills that a lot of people don't have: delayed gratification, increased income, whack expenses, and then the ability to stick in for a decade. It's that last one that I see so many people fall down. And it's because the first 5 years suck. It's because life changes, right? I've known people to actually survive the first 5 years, but then for whatever reason, they just change, right? They want the big house all of a sudden. And, you know, one of the early slides in my Get Wealthy presentation is a picture of a rat in a wheel. right? And it's where I admit the rat race is real. And I didn't know the rat race is real until I was 30, right? I didn't get it. And in this particular picture, the wheel is green. And what you have to understand is you're an adult and you get to decide how big that green wheel is. And if you need the big house and the vacation and the third car and this, and you're going to live paycheck to paycheck because that green wheel is as big as your paycheck. And for some of you, it's bigger because you're living on credit. But if you want to get wealthy, you've got to keep that wheel as small as possible. It's not fun. People make fun of you. It takes sacrifice, takes consistency. You're going to have emotional breakdowns because you don't see it's working. But trust me, it works. It's a decade.
Yeah. It really does. And I mean, I'm always like, I want to move to Colorado. I want the big dream home. And, so I struggle with that too, wanting to move into a bigger home. And, the golden handcuffs and all those things that we all talk about is real. I mean, God, I've got it made where I am. And my house is 3,000 square feet on a half an acre with a pool at the end of a cul-de-sac. I mean,
beautiful.
I didn't grow up in a house this big. What am I bitching about?
Yeah.
I grow up in a house that's big. Most people don't grow up in a 3,000 square foot house. Life is really good. Life is good. And to have the freedom and the extra income to now spend on vacation or, maybe buy that lake house eventually, all those things and turn into an Airbnb because you got to make money. But those are all, things that you can have if you don't, what they say, increase your lifestyle because your income goes up. You have to be careful. And I think one thing too, yes, I know people's goals change, right? Oh, what's your goal? How many properties do you want? How much money do you make? Well, every time you reach a goal, your goals change. And I think also it's okay to change your dreams. You don't have to keep the same dream that you've had when you were younger, because it's okay. You grow up, you evolve, different things are important to you. And it's okay to change your dreams and goals as time goes on. No one's holding you to it except for yourself. And it's okay that things can change. So I just want to say that everyone who says, because I get this all the time in my Instagram, I wish YouTube had a way to like DM people, besides commenting, so people can chat me on Instagram. So I get a lot of Instagram comments with people saying how it's impossible to do what I've done because I bought properties a long time ago. And I'm sure you get that too.
Oh yeah.
And the answer to that is I just buy one a year, and in 10 years, your first year today will be just like mine in 10 years. It just takes time. And the best thing about long-term rentals is that, you get the 30-year fixed income and, all the things. There's the chance of failure is so slim, buying good areas. There's a few cornerstones, right, that you have to get right. But otherwise, it's pretty much foolproof. It just takes time. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah. I want to go back to one more thing about those first 5 years for you and your husband. And how consistently did you guys communicate about money? Because one of the stressors in most relationships is money. And to be very clear, it's the lack of money or lack of clarity where the money is going. How engaged were the two of you about money while you were busy for 18 months on the Etsy store? Were you telling him how much you saved and he saw it growing? And right, how often did you guys communicate about money?
Oh yeah, probably every day, every day. And we still do every day. We still talk about it every day. Money is, it's important to me and I want to have more of it. And how can I get more money is always my thing. People go, don't you have enough? Well, people that work really hard and are highly motivated to make money, it's never enough. Sorry, it's never enough. You always want more. Why do you sell courses if you're financially free? Because I always want more money. Everybody does. I can increase my lifestyle. I can help more people. I can do what I like. Doesn't mean I have to do it for free. And that's with anything in life. It's okay to say you want more money. It's okay to work for money. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to discuss it. It's okay to share. One thing that I don't understand is why, and I guess I can get it, but in tight families, what people don't share about in with your siblings and your parents. How did you make your money? How did you grow your money? Do you have any advice? I don't understand how people keep that information to themselves. how are you helping your siblings, or how are you helping your parents or your kids if you aren't having money conversations? You're just going to leave your kids and your siblings, older and younger, and your best friends to figure it out on their own when you might have the answer that could help them financially. Money should be talked about. It should be talked about often, and it is okay. Money is not the root of all evil. In the Bible, money is good. Everyone should have plenty. It is all right. So for us, I will say one thing is we never really budgeted. We never budget. I don't like budgeting. I don't like saying no. I don't like anyone telling me no. I like the power. I don't like to tell myself no. We've never been in credit card debt. We've never owed a lot of anything. We've always been very money conscious. Even before we got married, each of us were very money conscious and already had savings and IRAs and stuff like that. So we were never like broke. But it was always like, what do we have is our net worth? What do we have is in our 401k? How can we make more? We need to buy another house. But one thing Blake is really good at is always letting me buy what I want. And I have a hard time spending money. So it's pretty easy for him. I don't like to spend, but I think money should definitely be a conversation that it's okay to talk about. And I also don't agree that husband and wife should have separate money lives. I think everything is joint and it needs to be shared and talked about because you are one, person. So you got to stay on money.
Yeah. Talk about money more. I think that's a key to a lot of the success you have. You guys were consistently, frankly, still talk about money. I think for a lot of people, money is almost like religion. It's kind of taboo and you don't really talk about it unless you have to. Casey, thank you for this. Where can people find you?
People can find me on YouTube because I am loving YouTube so much more. Since 2 years ago, you pushed me to get my YouTube channel going again. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I've gotten the most amazing comments from people on YouTube, much more than my Instagram. So you can find me on YouTube. Every week I try and put out a new video or two at Brick by Brick Wealth. If you want to see what I'm up to with everything else I do, you can visit my website, brickbybrickwealth.com. And of course, I'm still on Instagram if you want to chat me, Brick by Brick Wealth.
Awesome. You're amazing. Take care. Have a great week.